I White Collar 101 series, and I want to talk today about some of the benefits of serving time in federal prison. I'm not going to diminish that serving time in prison is tough. Oftentimes, the hardest part of the journey is before you actually surrender to prison. You're living in limbo for quite some time, the fear of the unknown, and going to Google or other spots, to find information can be very discouraging because it tends to focus on all the negatives of a felony conviction. And I spent too much time before my surrender to prison obsessing about all that had gone wrong. And it took a little while for me to figure out some of the benefits to serving time in federal prison. So that's what I want to convey in this video. And I was inspired because I began working with someone new today who, through his research in Google and vetting various consultants, came across this blog I wrote going back to 2014, the 21st of August 2014, and I titled it 10 Benefits to Serving Time in Federal Prison. So I'm going to go through this quickly, and I hope that it's of value to you wherever you might be in the journey. Never forget, a prison term is clearly defined with a beginning and an end. Before you go in can be the toughest part, and to the extent that you can prepare for it and manage the ups and downs of the journey, it will be much easier. And I do this in part because I regretted some of the decisions I made before I went in, and I just hope that the work that I put out there helps you make some better decisions. And if you go to prison, that your journey is more productive. So in my case, I wrote number 1, victims. I never forgot that my conduct helped create victims. I was a stockbroker at UBS. I made some bad decisions while managing money. It created some victims. And even though they have been repaid, it didn't change the emotional stress that they had gone through. So a benefit to me in prison was recognizing I had created these victims and then putting measurable steps in place to make amends to them beyond just words, but through my action. Number 2, take a punch. In my book, Lessons from Prison, that I'll happily give to you for free. There's no need to buy the book. Just go to federalprisonadvice.com to get a free copy. I talk about the privileged and coddled upbringing that I had, frankly, much different than a lot of the great men that I served time in prison with, who had endured heartache and disadvantages that I had never faced. And until I went to prison, I had never really taken a punch in life. So serving time in prison, working hard, I think I proved to a lot of people that I can emerge strong, that I could take a punch and come back. I think I proved a lot to myself. Number 3, perspective. I wrote, while fighting my case, I was obsessed over all I lost: my licenses, money, reputation, my good name. I'm not saying those aren't big hits, but in prison I saw a real struggle for men who'd only known misery. Now, I just touched on that. It is easy to obsess about all the pain that we're going through. The money to lawyers, losing our careers, our licenses, our family life could be in disarray. I benefited in prison in part by finding a sense of perspective and recognizing that others had been through it. Frankly, that others got through it who had much different and harder circumstances than me. So that sense of perspective carried me through on some very tough days. Number 4, fat farm. For many years before my surrender to prison, I reasoned that my growing waistline and pudginess was an inevitable byproduct of aging. Look, when I was a stockbroker in my 20s, I worked 80 hours a week. My only exercise was golf. I dieted poorly. I did some drinking. I smoked a little bit. Health wasn't a priority to me. In fact, many of the people that reach out to me, one of their primary goals is to want to lose weight on the inside. And it's totally doable. So I joke with some clients who have a short prison term. I say, hey, bud, or for my female clients that go to Victorville or Alderson, this could be like a fat farm for you. It's an opportunity to recalibrate, to get your health in order. So for me, I went to prison overweight. I lost more than 30 pounds. I became a long-distance runner, running 10 miles inside of a month. Running might not be for you. Perhaps it's walking or sprinting or doing something, but it's an opportunity to recalibrate because it's tough to do it at home, right? We have iPhones, which are always blowing up. We have, temptations all around us with food and beer and wine. It's just, even now sometimes I get ready to go for a run and the phone rings, it's a text, something comes up. So in prison, I was just able to prioritize and say, I'm going to go, the track is 60 yards from where my housing unit, I'm just going to do it. And I looked at it at part like a fat farm, and I was able to, get fit, and I developed a sense of dignity and strength from having done it. It was very good. Number 5, grow that network. Before my surrendered, I tended to live like the proverbial ostrich. The ostrich who buries his head in the sand, thinking that the danger will pass it by because he can't see it. That was me to a degree. I just didn't want to own fully what I had done, and I destroyed my network in part because of it. I neglected them. I didn't fully appreciate them. I made it harder on them. And I had such regret for that upon my surrender. So what did I do? I began to write them with a pen and paper and articulate to them steps that I was taking to grow through prison, how I was documenting the journey, good books I had read. And there wasn't even email yet. Now with the TrueLinks system, you can email, you can add 100 people to your list. I did it without email. So you can really grow your network, both by good old, snail mail, pen and paper. But email is a huge tool that you'll want to take advantage of. Number 6, get smart again. In my 20s, I read 2 books. Both were Tiger Woods golf books. Yes, I have a little bit of a golf obsession. This is my Pebble Beach pullover that I got while playing golf with a client last year at Pebble Beach. I love golf, and in my 20s, I love golf, and any book I read was on golf. I wasn't educating myself through ethics and philosophy, the building of character, of leadership. I was one-sided in making money, and that was it. And I kind of got dumb. Other than being able to solicit and bring in some money as a stockbroker, I got stupid. So in prison, I read 100 books, and I learned from them, and they help reshape my life. Number 7, from stockbroker to real estate agent to author. Michael Santos, my partner, gave me this great quote that said, Michelangelo said, the problem with goals is not that we set them too big, but too small. When I surrendered to prison, my initial goal was just to get in shape and just sort of recalibrate and decompress for a bit. And then when I realized the opportunities that were in front of me, I seized them by thinking really big. Had someone told me when I surrendered, you're going to write a daily blog, a book, release to speaking invitations, and I would have said, you're insane, that's crazy. But I did it daily, I did it incrementally, I did it slowly, and that was a huge benefit to serving time in prison, having those huge goals and pursuing them every single day. Something that I advise for any of you who might go into prison. There's a tendency to continue to focus or obsess on what we've lost or do not have, but time on the inside provides ample opportunity to do huge and incredible things. So it can be a great benefit if you let it become a benefit, or you can stay mired in a sense of depression or frustration. I was there too. Things are better, but when you recognize that you can do huge things from the inside of a federal prison, in part because you don't have this iPhone blowing up all the time, you don't have distractions and Googling and lawyers calling and the fallout, you're separated from it. That was a huge benefit for me. No one could call me, I called out. There were no emails at the time. I liked it. I like parts of it. As crazy. I hate to say I like prison, but there were parts of it I liked. Okay, I don't want you to think I'm insane. I wish I wasn't there, but I was, and I had to make the most of it. How should you? Number 8, I'm an individual again. In my 20s, I was malleable. I learned that word in prison. Because I was easily influenced, I tended to run with the pack. In prison, however, with nothing really left to lose, I embraced the reality that success meant I would have to go at it alone, despite negative feedback. I still get some negative feedback, of course. The more successful you become, the more people try to bring you down. So in prison, I only had an 18-month sentence. There were some staff and other prisoners that said, how could you expect to be a consultant and help others if you've only served 18 months? And initially I got very defensive, like, I'm sorry, I'm not a worse criminal, and my sentence is only 18 months and not 10 or 20 years. And then I realized it's not necessarily the length of sentence that you serve, just like you're not really qualified to help someone just because you've served time in prison. The reason I documented this journey since 2008 is to show that evidence, to collect so you can do your due diligence. But, so for me, I began to think as an individual, and Michael Santos helped me. I began to think, like, hey, I have to make decisions that are right for me and my family. And I'm no longer going to be easily influenced by people that say I shouldn't run so much, I shouldn't write so much, I shouldn't get up so early, I should chill. No one's going to care what some white-collar offender, former stockbroker says about ethics. No one's going to want you to consult them because you didn't serve long enough. I could have easily been swayed by that. Instead, I said, I thank you for your opinion, and I'm going to serve my time and you serve yours. And I was no longer swayed by public opinion, and frankly, I no longer am swayed now. I listen to it. I might learn from it. Sometimes I might agree with it. But if it's wrong, I just kick it aside, and I continue to go down my own path, as all of you should, because prison's a microcosm of society. There are cliques, even in a camp. So it's best, if possible, to be an individual, to have your own routine, to avoid the drama, and work, because someday those doors are going to open, I assure you. Tolerance. Number 9, I've received some negative emails from telling me that I'm too hard on some white-collar offenders. In fact, one said, aren't you afraid if you scrutinize them, they will not hire you? I provide a heavy dose of reality. I'm brutally honest, and I'm ethical. I do not mislead or provide false hope. Some of my experience from prison tells me some white-collar offenders can become more tolerant of others. I'm not indicting all. I'm not saying everyone. I could have been more tolerant. And I became more tolerant in prison of recognizing that I had opportunities that others didn't have and that I squandered them. And from the inside of a federal prison, I sought to reconcile. So I'm not indicting everyone who's watching this. You might be in better shape than me. You might have more tolerance than me. You might have read more books than me. You might have done a better job of nurturing your network during your journey than me. This blog and some of my content comes from my own experience with the hope that you'll relate to your own life. Number 10, friends. Who knew that I would benefit from such close friends while thriving through the system? To this day, I remain close with Walt Pavlo and Michael Santos. Both invested thousands of hours to help me become better. Again, you have to nurture that network and be grateful for those that are selfless and give you their time. That was a huge benefit for me, to nurture those relationships, to prove worthy of them, and so on. So let me close with what I wrote here. Again, I want to reiterate that I'm not stupid nor delusional. No person should want to serve time in prison. If it's in the cards, however, let the experience be a positive one. And that's how I'll close. No one wants to serve time in prison. If you're going, however, the time does not have to be a waste. Do not let the government get your sentence plus the rest of your life. In other words, I fought my case for 3.5 years. I got an 18-month sentence. When people say you only served 18 months, I want to say to them, I really served 5 years. It was the 3.5 years in limbo of feeling like I was in prison, plus the 18 months and then probation. Don't let them get one more damn day of your life than they deserve. If it's a year and a day, if it's 5 years, if it's 10 years, let that be the total number, I beg you. And if you focus on the positive and benefits of prison, they won't get 1 day longer than that sentence. Again, if you'd like a free copy of my book, Lessons from Prison, just visit federalprisonadvice.com and I'll email you a copy. Thank you for your time and work hard. Bye-bye.